Hey everybody, welcome back to the Aptitude Outdoors YouTube channel. I hope you guys are enjoying the stuff I've been putting out. If you can, hit that subscribe button real quick. I greatly appreciate that. And today I'm talking about another book real quick, a book that has been a favorite of mine for a long time by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is The Last American Man, story about Eustace Conway. This is one of the books that inspired me to thru hike the Appalachian Trail. Not going to talk about that much on here, but he has got a great story of his thru hike of the Appalachian Trail where he essentially took nothing and scrounged the whole time. He lived that myth that a lot of thru hikers, families, and friends think that thru hikers do out there, where they just live off the land, kill stuff. He actually did that, so he's kind of a outdoors machine, if you will say. But there's a lot of good quotes in this book that really get your brain turning, and I'm going to read one of my favorite ones here in a second, but something that I've been seeing a lot of online lately with spring just around the corner. People are complaining that it's cold, and the way that it's put in this book is the embracing of the seasons is reality. That's what life is, especially up here in the north. It's cold, a big chunk of a percentage of the year, and you might as well embrace it or you're just going to be miserable. You know, I've gotten into ice fishing, there's skiing, there's cross-country skiing, there's hiking, there's all this stuff you can do in the winter to make it enjoyable, and you just have to take it upon yourself to change that mindset. I personally used to hate the winter because I grew up in my teenage years working for a snow removal company, up all hours in the night, just terrible, cold, freezing your ass off, and, ever since I've been huge into the outdoors, of my whole life revolves around doing outdoors stuff now. That mindset is gone, and this book helped change it. So I'm going to open up here and take a quick journey through one of my favorite parts of the book, and it's right in the intro. It's in the first chapter, and it really gets you thinking about a lot of things, but specifically how to embrace the seasons. So I apologize, I'm not a narrator. I'm not the greatest reader, but we'll start here. It says, "But in replacing every challenge with a shortcut, we seem to have lost something, and Eustace isn't the only person feeling that loss. We are an increasingly depressed and anxious people, and not for nothing. Arguably, all these modern conveniences have been adopted to save us time. But time for what? Having created a system that tends to our every need without causing us undue exertion or labor, we can now fill these hours with what? Well, for one thing, television. Loads of it, hours of it, days and weeks and months of it in every American's lifetime. Also work. Americans spend more and more hours at their jobs every year. In almost every household, both parents, if there are two parents, must work full-time outside the home to pay for all these goods and services, which means a lot of commuting, which means a lot of stress, less connection to family and community, fast food meals eaten in cars on the way to and from work, poor health all the time. America is certainly the fattest and most inactive society in history, and we're packing on more pounds every year. We seem to have some disregard for our bodies as we do for our other natural resources. If a vital organ breaks down, after all, we always believe we can just buy a new one. Somebody else will take care of it. Same way we believe that somebody else will plant another forest someday if we use this one up. That's it, if we even notice that we're using it up. There's an arrogance to such an attitude, but more than that, there's a profound alienation. We have fallen out of rhythm. It's this simple. If we don't cultivate our own food supply anymore, do we need to pay attention to the idea of, say, seasons? Is there any difference between winter and summer if we can eat strawberries every day? If we can keep the temperature of our house set to a comfortable 70 degrees all year, do we need to notice that fall is coming? Do we have to prepare for that, respect that, much less contemplate what it means for our own mortality, that things die in nature every autumn? And when does spring come around again? Do we need to notice that rebirth? Do we need to take a moment and maybe thank everybody for it? Celebrate it? If we never leave our house except to drive to work, do we need to be even remotely aware of this powerful, humbling, extraordinary, and external life force that surges and ebbs around us all the time? Apparently not, because we seem to have stopped paying attention. Or this is what Eustace Conway perceives when he looks around America. He sees people have fallen out of step with natural cycles that have defined humanity's existence and culture for millennia. Having lost the vital connection with nature, the nation is in danger of losing its humanity. We're not alien visitors to this planet after all, but natural residents and relatives of every living entity here. This earth is where we came from and where we'll all end up when we die. And during this interim, it is our home. And there's no way we can ever hope to understand ourselves if we don't at least marginally understand our home. That is the understanding we need to put our lives in some big metaphysical context. Instead, Eustace sees a chilling sight, a citizenry so removed from the rhythms of nature that we march through our lives as mere sleepwalkers, blinded, deafened, and senseless, robotically existing in sterilized surroundings that numb the mind, weaken the body, and atrophy the soul. But Eustace believes that we can get our humanity back. When we contemplate the venerable age of a mountain, we get it. When we observe the superb order of water, sunlight, we get it. When we experience firsthand the brutal poetry of the food chain, we get it. When we are mindful of every nuance of our natural world, we finally get the picture that we are each given only one dazzling moment of life here on earth, and we must stand before that reality both humbled and elevated, subject to every law of the universe, and grateful for our brief but intrinsic participation in it. That is profound. I probably read that for the first time when I was 20. I'm over 30 now, and that literally has had a lasting impact on my life. And, you know, it's funny how true that is. And, you know, a lot of people would argue against that, saying we've come so far, now we don't have to worry about these kind of things. But like, I've said this before, the earth is going to go on whether humans are here or not. That is all irrelevant. So you might as well just embrace what you have to work with, enjoy the outdoors. These sorts of lessons I've never seen anywhere else but the outdoors, and they just ring so true. Like, how many days years, months have we spent waking up doing the same thing, feeling like absolute crap? Why? Like, there's so much to experience out there, yet we just let it all go by. And it's pretty scary to think about, because you only get to live the one time. I mean, there's no redo, there's no start over. You get this one shot to do it. So I've personally taken a step back from worrying about being the most financially successful person on earth. You know, I don't have those ambitions very much anymore. I mean, I want to live my life, and this book is a great example of someone who just lives. He doesn't have, you know, these big plans. He deals with things that we all do, having to pay for his land, having to pay taxes. All this stuff is a struggle for him, but he's living the life he wants, and that's really important. So learning how to take under a new thing, ice fishing, you know, I'm trying to get more in tune with how nature works, and it's really hard. It's challenging for me. I've never been the greatest fisherman, but there's a tranquility of sitting out on the ice when it's 12 degrees with the wind blowing in this little tiny tent with nothing below you but freezing water that kind of sets your brain on a path to just being able to breathe and think and contemplate things, like remembering this passage from this book, and, you know, learning an entirely new skill, providing food that's, you know, healthy, organic, fresh for me and my family. And, you know, all these things are super important. Just like with hunting, he talks about they talk about the cycles of life and death in this book. We're so far removed from that now. Everything comes from a package in the grocery store. And, you know, if I go and buy a steak at the grocery store, I'm not thinking about the steak. Like, I don't know where that came from. Who knows how it was slaughtered? I have no concept of any of that. But when I eat the deer that I killed this year, every time I cook a piece of that steak or that burger or whatever I have at any moment, it's bringing me back to that moment in time. Like, I remember that through my own volition, I killed this animal and now I'm eating it. So it's like trying to kind of live within the natural cycle of things, because that's what it is. We try to artificially control everything so much, so we forget that the world is going on without us. I'm trying to get back in that natural cycle of things, because that's humanity to me. And that's my own definition. We are part of nature. And I don't see any way to break away from that. No matter how smart or rich or intelligent we think we are, it all comes back to the natural world at some point, because that's what we're all made of. And yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this. It's been fun for me kind of revisiting old books and reading new ones and trying to like glean out these really helpful bits of information for me to think about. And I want to share them with you because, it's great to think about these things and understand the way the world works in a new way that maybe you haven't thought of before. So if you like this, if you got any sort of value out of it, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. I'm only putting these out on YouTube right now. I have not put these in the podcast or anything like that. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you guys for watching, and I will be doing my research and putting out more of these as time goes on. So thank you and have a wonderful day.